Welcome once again to another special introduction video. Obviously, you guys are getting used to this. Obviously, this is another video that was once a Facebook Live video, and I decided to bring it over to YouTube, edit it up a little bit, kind of edit out any of the dull, kind of quiet spots, and obviously inject this nice, interesting intro. Facebook Live is a little bit different. Obviously, I usually do a video, I do some kind of unboxing, or I show off VHS tapes, or obviously I do a game pickup, or I might talk about a particular gaming store I went to, that sort of thing. This, however, can be sort of put into the personal piece kind of area. This could be considered a personal piece, meaning this is my opinion, so we're going into that realm, where you're going to get to hear my opinion on Free Comic Book Day, what it once was, and what I feel like it's turned into. Now, before I dive into all that, I just want to quickly throw out there, I'm not really obviously a YouTuber or even a person who normally likes to inflict my opinion on others. I do have opinion on a lot of things, important, minuscule, depending on how you feel. You know, it ranges all over. But at the end of the day, I usually tend to just keep that stuff to myself, and if it's something that affects me, I usually go down the proper channels in getting those things fixed. However, I feel like social media is not the greatest outlet for venting your concerns to, so to speak. So, that being said, you know, if you disagree with this video, if you don't like this video, if you don't like what I have to say, that's perfectly cool. Click away now. If you're a big fan of Free Comic Book Day and you think I'm a weirdo for complaining about it, click away now. You don't have to watch this video. This is sort of a forewarning. I feel I call myself an old school kind of comic book collector. The industry has changed dramatically. The industry has even changed a little bit more since this video was posted. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things that has to change with time or else it won't be able to survive. Comic books and comic books themselves and books and novels, they just don't hold the same backbone that they used to in the market, and they don't make money the way they used to. So, obviously, comic books had to sort of branch out and combine their efforts into other areas in order to make a worldwide product that's going to keep them afloat. And that's totally understandable. But unfortunately, the comic book industry is no longer focused on comic books. And superheroes are no longer really found on the pages of comic books. They're now sort of everywhere. They've always been in TV shows and movies, but they're so much more prominent now. It's just almost overkill to the extent that I don't even really care about superheroes anymore because of how just diluted the pool has become. There's so many cartoons. There's so many comic books. There's so many movies. There's just so many versions of these characters now that I'm just disinterested to keep up with them. And the fact that they're cranking them out like a factory product, like sliced bologna or individually wrapped cheese. There's no care going into each slice. They're just cranking it out for the sake of cranking it out. And I know what a lot of you are thinking, oh, well, you know, there have been some really good movies and there has been some good TV shows, but that's few and far between. And now that we are getting really good quality shows or really good quality movies, for me, I'm over it. I'm just sick of all of the oversaturation of the comic book market that I decided to make this video. Of course, Forrest of Retro or Die, he definitely loves period pieces, and he's kind of been hankering me a little bit to release some. He's really been asking me, I want to get your feelings on this, I want to get your feelings on that. But the thing is I'm not that kind of person that really puts my personal opinion out there. Obviously, I'm working on that a little more with the podcast, but that's sort of its own monster. And, you know, we always forewarn people going into that podcast that, you know, we let all of our, we leave all all of our inhibitions are left at the door. So when we go into recording that, like, expect us to open up, expect us to be an open book, because that's sort of the point of the podcast. If you want to find out a little bit more what goes on behind the scenes, well, then there's that avenue. But as far as my YouTube page is concerned, I really just want to kind of keep it focused on, you know, entertainment, fun, laughing, having a good time, you know, pretty much just pure and simple. I really don't want this to turn into any kind of, you know, political or even opinionated kind of page. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. This intro has gone on for way much longer than I intended it to. But I just kind of wanted to lay the groundwork out a little bit. So without further ado, here is my thoughts from about a year and a half ago on Free Comic Book Day. Please, as always, leave comments, like it. You know, if you guys have any kind of comments or questions regarding the topic, or hell, if you just want to give me hell and you want to kind of reach out and throw your opinion in the mix, I would love it. Now, obviously, you know, I'm not looking for any kind of arguments or debates, but everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I would appreciate any kind of feedback, critical or positive, whatever. So, thank you for watching, and I'm out. Hello, how's it going? Jazzy Jeff here. So I figured try something a little different, do a live stream here at night. Not really sure if I'm going to get more of a response or not. It's a weeknight, so most people probably went to bed hours ago for the 9 to 5ers, Monday through Fridays. But for the late night crew that likes to stay up late, hello there, Seth. We got one live viewer. We got 2 live viewers. That's pretty cool. But yeah, switching this up. Haven't done a video in a little while, and figured I would do one late at night. See how it goes. Hopefully this won't be too boring. But yeah, from the title, it's obviously about Free Comic Book Day, and this has been pretty big ongoing tradition for like over a decade now. I actually still remember the very first Free Comic Book Day back in 2002, and it was really awesome. You know, it was really cool. Of course, I don't have like any comic books or anything to show, you know, so just but yeah, I mean, it's grown into like quite the monster, and there's good things about it and there's bad things, and I'm kind of here to talk a little bit about both, because for all intents and purposes, the whole point of Free Comic Book Day was to bring more people to the comic store, to get more people involved in either reading comics or knowing about comics. And the Free Comic Book Day is kind of morphed more into just sort of a business thing where they just focus on the latest Marvel movie or superhero movie coming out that year. They don't really focus on the industry or the stores as much, and they just focus more on just kind of pumping out free comics for the sake of, you know, filling the store with just random nonsense. Back when it started, back in 2002, 2003, 2004, they legitimately gave good comics away. They gave actual back issues away from the 90s, from the 80s, you know, from the 70s. Then they started making, like the corporations, the comic corporations and different stores, they started making actual free comics, which was cool. But to collectors and people who actually collect comics or read comics, nobody really cares about, you know, the free issue or issue number 0. You know, people care about collecting the continuity or getting the next issue in line. And I'm all for new issues to get new readers involved. But when you just like pump out free issues or like shit, issues for the sake of like free comics, like that's really lazy. I miss the days when they actually gave out like actual cool free comics or free merchandise. And they would give out, t-shirts, or you could get discounted items at the local comic store. And it basically, you were supporting the comic store. You were buying things, from the store that, was either made by the comic store or was like original actual merchandise from back in the day that's like hard to find. And now, the past few years, it's just like shit crap merchandise that anybody can make. And the comic stores aren't really getting that money. It's kind of going back to the big movie corporations or the bigger picture, which is like, what's the big blockbuster comic book movie coming out that summer? So then all the free merchandise revolves around that free movie. If you don't really care about the movie and you care about the comics, or you care about the character, or you care about the merchandise surrounding the comic book character, why the hell do you want to collect any of the stupid free shit for the stupid movie? And half of the movies, aren't always good. A lot of the early superhero movies got remade, over and over and over again. Spider-Man's been remade multiple times. The Incredible Hulk's been remade multiple times. So for hardcore fans like me, I just kind of stopped caring about the movies, because obviously they're turning into just money-making machines, and they're not really focusing a whole lot of, they're not really focusing it on the comic. They're not really focusing it on the character. They're just trying to find a way to take the superhero and make a ton of money off of him. So this is just kind of my opinion and my thoughts on Free Comic Book Day. And, hopefully other people watch this video if you really do want to support comic books, or you really do want to support the industry, go out to the local stores, and like make sure they, ask them about their back issues, ask them about their actual merchandise, don't just go there for the stupid, free stuff that's like pumped out, just for the sake of giving the store something to hand out. And then another thing that ends up happening is a lot of stores, and I've noticed this around the stores that I've been at, they eventually will turn the free merchandise around and they'll start selling it. And like, that's completely ridiculous, because the whole point of Free Comic Book Day is to get a free comic book. And then months down the line, some comic book stores will take all those back issues all the free issues that didn't sell, and they'll put it in their back issues bin, and they'll sell it. And even if they're selling it at like 50 cents or even for $1, like that's still a ripoff, because it was meant to be free. And there's been a handful of times that I've found dozens of comics, free Comic Book Day comics, mixed in with the rest of the comics that were on, for sale. And I never understood that. I was like, why are you guys like selling these comics when they're supposed to be free? That's really messed up. So, and that's a whole nother thing too. Like, Free Comic Book Day used to be more about giving out free comics, and a lot of stores now will hold on to those free comics and try to sell them later on, which is really fucked up. You're supposed to be getting people in your store giving out comics so that you can, promote your store, promote the industry, get more people reading, and they're busy kind of being a little bit of a Gestapo, kind of like, oh, you can only have one comic per person, you can only pick out certain comics, and you can only have 5 comics when you leave the store, and that's crazy. Like, I remember, I don't want to name any particular stores, but I remember being to a couple of comic book stores on Free Comic Book Day and having workers there, like hardcore police, like how many comics you were taking. And I just laughed, and I left the store. I dropped all the comics, and I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm not buying anything from you guys, and I left the store. Because I remember back when the Free Comic Book Day started, they literally would like give you stacks and stacks of comics, and they wanted to get rid of them. Like, the comic store knew that there was no money to be made with these comics. And there really isn't any money to be made, because they're free comics. They're just supposed to be for fun. They're supposed to be for kids. At the end of the day, this shit's for kids, And it's just turning into this huge mess, and it's just really unfortunate. So, for the for the live people, thank you for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to throw them in here. But hopefully, some other people check out this video once I'm finished up and it gets posted. But yeah, it's I love comic books. I'm not a huge fan as much as I used to be, and I wish the industry would have gone in a different direction. I'm glad that there's movies, but I think the films have kind of hurt the print a little bit, because the effort is not really there with the stories, and just basically the different things that they were going to do with the characters are sort of starting to disappear now, and they're making the comics more like the movies, which is just really, crappy, because it's like, if you're going to actually do the movie, do the movie right, but if you're just going to fucking make the movie to make money, then I don't give a shit. And that's why I don't give a shit about a lot of the comic book movies, because they're just about the studio making money, and the studio will just pump out a film to hold on to the rights. That's why they keep making Fantastic Four movies, because 20th Century Fox doesn't want to lose the rights to it. So it's a huge mess, and it's, like I said, it's like anything, anything that gets popular and that gets a lot of attention will eventually sort of turn into this like money-making monster. So, for any of my Facebook friends or anybody that watches this, make sure, that you actually think a little bit harder about Free Comic Book Day this year. And, make sure you're supporting the actual day and not the sort of bullshit nonsense that always tends to revolve these the Free Comic Book Days. Because like I said, I remember back in the early days it was awesome, and I felt like it was about the comics, and now I feel like it's more about like the movies and actors, and all these other genres are now, and like Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you, has become a big thing. And it's like, May 4th used to be Free Comic Book Day. It wasn't Star Wars Day, and it's like, May used to be the big month for comic books, and May is sort of now the big month for Star Wars. And I have nothing against Star Wars, but I just feel like, obviously, Star Wars is always going to be around, but the comic book industry is a dying industry. And it just kind of sucks that they now have to share the month and the holiday with this, monster conglomerate Star Wars, because obviously Star Wars does not need any help at all. That Star Wars is going to be around long after I'm dead. But comic books, who knows? And there's been a lot of times, even in the 90s, that the comic industry almost completely failed. So, I may trek out to the stores this year, and I'll see how it goes, but I'm not going to lie, I was very disappointed in my past few experiences with Free Comic Book Day. And if anybody else has had bad experiences, feel free to comment this video after it's posted, or, feel free to message me. But this is just my opinion, and it doesn't mean that I'm right, it doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And if you guys have a different opinion, you're more than welcome to share it. But it's just, late night, just kind of had some things on my mind, and just kind of wanted to talk about comic books, because, comic books are fucking awesome, and I don't really think people talk about them enough. And I certainly would like to, get into collecting them a little bit more again, if I get the time and the money. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. So at the 12-minute mark, I'm wondering if I should probably axe this video. So thanks to everybody who joined in, and for watching. And like I said, feel free to comment, on this video if you have any, feelings or opinions, or if you didn't like what I said, or if you have any questions. And keep an eye out. I'm definitely going to be trying to post some more videos tomorrow. So this is Jazzy Jeff saying thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great night. And keep on collecting comics, and enjoy Free Comic Book Day when it comes along. Hopefully it'll be a good one this year. Hopefully they actually come out with some pretty decent free comics. And who knows, maybe even a store will start giving out free back issues again, like actual comics. So, all right, I'm out.